Hello, everyone. This is Jason with Levelhead Trading. Wanted to make an update here on Tesla today and what's going on. So, what I did is I broke down Tesla on the weekly chart and I drew some just possible lines here as far as a channel. So, this is the weekly chart of Tesla. And I only have it really on the top as far as you have three touches, right? You have the most recent high at 299, and then the rejection pullback. And notice then right here we get up to 265. This is the weekly chart. So rejected again and made a lower weekly high, which was 265 relative to that one, which was 278 relative to that one, which was 299 approximately. So the top is pretty well defined as far as the rejection. What I did here is I didn't extend the line on the weekly chart all the way out here because there isn't anything here really to reference. I'm just referencing the low right here and then the low here where we had, we held this and then we pushed up but made a lower weekly high. So that was, a lower weekly low and a lower high. And this is where we are right now, looking at the weekly chart. So the current price down at $210. Generally, I'm going to say that when you get close to a round number, so I'm referring to $200, you're that close to it, I'm going to say you're going to get to that. You're going to get to that, or at least very close to it, if not break below the 200 round number, psychological number. Same thing on the upside. If you notice the high, it got to $299.29, right? So basically $300. And on the low side, at the bottom, 101.81. So basically $100. So 100 to 300. Now we're back down to 210. So at $200, we're going to be at a 50% retracement from the most recent high of 299. And as I said, and I've said this before with Bitcoin, but I was saying it in the reverse estimation of where I thought Bitcoin might top out at. It was at a 61.8% retracement from the lows relative to the highs. So now, since we're at a 50% retracement on Tesla, or just about once we get to 200, I'm inclined to think that we will retrace potentially 62% of the move from 100 to 300, which would bring it down into approximately $175. So that's my the low case scenario. That's what I'm thinking potentially might happen. But we still have a level in between that to hold, which is this week right here. The low of that was 194, 194.07. So we could hold that and set a weekly higher low and then just continue in this channel potentially for a while. But the caution and what is making Tesla really not perform is not only is it coming down very hard, the technology, QQQ, the stock market today, so I'm going to jump into QQQ and show you that QQQ is today basically double topped at its all-time high. So notice how this candle looks today on QQQ, right? If it plays out like this and maybe potentially ends further down, it's going to be a hammer. It's going to be a hammer with a rejection from the all-time high. So the all-time high was 412.92, and today it got to 412.99. So basically, 7 cents above the all-time high. But at the moment, it's still early. Haven't even had 3 hours of trading, but it looks to me that that is going to be the top of QQQ. And the reason I bring this up is because if that is all, if this is currently at its all-time high, right? And I'm suspecting it's going to pull back. It's going to consolidate at some point. I could be wrong, but if it does consolidate from here, and at this point, Tesla is already well on its way down, then that's just going to push Tesla further down, in my opinion. So that's looking at Tesla on the weekly chart. And then here I'll go on the daily and show you that. And then I'm going to jump into Bitcoin. And now Bitcoin, I was taking Tesla's lead as far as Bitcoin, meaning that they both moved almost in unison, not at the exact same time, but they almost moved exactly the same percentages. Bitcoin from 69,000 went to 15,460 and then retraced 61.8% and had a 200% move from the low of 15,460 up to 49,000. That's a little more than a 200% move. And what did Tesla do? Tesla went from 100 to 300, basically a 200% move. Now it's given back 50% of that. And so I was thinking, well, I'm going to suppose that Bitcoin will then start pulling back because Tesla now is, in a sense, indicating to me that now Bitcoin will pull back even more. And that's actually what it's been doing. But anyway, before I get to Bitcoin, and I'm not going to talk too much about it, this is the daily chart on Tesla. So looking at it in a more micro look, I really don't think you have to look at anything more than the daily candles at this point as far as what you might want to do. That's the way I am going to play it. So here's the 200-day moving average. I talked about this where you tried to hold it on that day. On this day, you rejected from it and then pulled down, which you're still close to it. But then this day, 3 days ago, 4 days ago, notice how you have the upper wick. All it did was get back and fill the gap of that day and then finish even lower. And then we had this day, which was maybe this was going to be the new higher low relative to that 193, 194 area. But after that day finished, you still closed below the top end of that candle. So if you're going to create a higher low, you need to break above whatever recently was the more recent low. So you got to get above this one, which the high of that was 225. On that day, you got up to 223, but you couldn't surpass 225. Then you have this day, which was yesterday, basically a bear flag on the daily chart. And now you have this unfolding today. And we are now oversold. So I did mention that I would start thinking about Tesla once we get oversold on the daily. So we're at 28 on the daily chart. And, but the look of the candle, what I was mentioning before is a safer way to make an entry is you need to have something to base your decision on and something to establish what kind of risk you're willing to take. So what I was mentioning before was the safer way to make an entry would be to wait until you create a higher low. So let's just say this was the low today, and tomorrow it goes up to over the top of this candle. Then you would say that is the higher low because you broke above it, but you have to close above it. So if that happened, hypothetically, then you could buy and use the low of that particular day, which is today, hypothetically, and place your stop under that. So You could buy, if it were to go up, say tomorrow, above this candle and completely engulf it, that would be called an engulfing candle. That would be a way to do it. But so far, the candle is just on its way down. There's been no, you see, there's no wick, right? There's been no buying to the upside. It started a little bit in the morning. As you see, it got above yesterday's candle by about 1%, but then it only got halfway to this particular candle 2 days ago. So I would not make an entry here. I would let the candle play out, and it's also the way the candle looks. That is another thing that I've been learning over time. So anyway, now I'm going to jump to Bitcoin, show you how I kind of took the lead of Tesla, and I had sold some Bitcoin. If anybody watches those videos that I made, I sold some that I had bought around 43 and change, and then I had bought some on the day that it dropped quite a bit. I had made some entry at a little bit under 42,000. But then on this particular day here, that's when I posted my last Bitcoin video. I said that I sold some up here in the mid 43,000 because I didn't look like the look of these daily candles. You had this big pullback and you were in the bottom 1/3 of the range that Bitcoin has been in, meaning here's the bottom, here's the high of 49,000. And on this particular day, you were only here and you had 3, 4, 5 days to try to, make some progress back up to the upside. And the other thing, which I mentioned in my last video, I think 2 days ago, I don't remember, but I'm going to make another video today. If we have any more downside, then you're going to get this EMA 12 period to cross underneath the 26. And so that looks like that's about to happen, if not already. So once today finishes, it'll be either crossed or it'll just be hanging on by a thread, because the most recent low is right here at 41,444. Today we got down to 41,581. So maybe that will be the low today, 41,581, and hold that low of 41,444. But even if we have a bounce and we create a lower high, that'll just give more room for the bears to create pressure and shove Bitcoin out of this entire range here, which the ultimate level is 40,150. So again, I took my cues from Tesla saying, well, they both moved the same to the upside. Now Tesla has been coming down very strong, and Bitcoin hadn't really come down that much. It had given back maybe 10, 15% from the highs of 49,000, whereas Tesla already gave back, maybe, I don't know what it is, 45% at this point. So I kind of look at those correlations and of things that are similar, that at times trade very similar, and then I'll make decisions based on that. Not just that, but also looking at the EMAs, looking at the 200 moving average, which is a really big one, and so on. So anyway, that's what I wanted to say. Again, the stock market, you see, that's the way it looks today. So it basically double topped, right? It hit a new high at 412.99. It's not really an interesting round number, but basically 413. And that high was 412.92. So it got above by 8 pennies, but then it pulled back pretty hard. And you can see that on a smaller time frame. I was using today, I think, the 15-minute time frame, and that's where it is there. So that was, I had 78, 74, 75 on the 15-minute time frame, and that's because it gapped up today from the start. So we'll see what happens. But anyway, if you're just interested in Tesla, that's what I'm looking at, and here's that channel. But it's more clear on the weekly chart. And again, this is just my drawings. This doesn't mean that this is it, but this is how I operate. On the bottom, like I said, you only have 2 touches, so that's not really enough to confirm the downside. But on the top, to me, that's very clear. You have 3 distinct areas that, you created a weekly lower high, here and then you really rejected strongly. So I'm going to keep that top line on there, and then depending on how things go here. But anyway, what I think will happen is we are going to get down under 200 or right around that. And that's going to be very close to the low of that weekly candle, 194. And that will also line up with getting close to this line that I drew, if I'm correct. So, right, if I leave my mouse right down here, and maybe this week or next week, it potentially could hit this point. Maybe this week, maybe next week. So that's what I'm looking at. And the last hope, really, I mean, it's not the last hope. I mean, you've already pulled back enough. If you've been patient and been waiting, then you're not losing anything. The last hope, like I said, is this, to me, is really a solid area here at 152. Because that lines up with the monthly. I'll go back to that on the monthly chart. I'm going to draw a line here. So in my opinion, you're going to hold that 152 area, but potentially you're going to break below this 194, and it would line up, if it does do that, with getting to about $175. And that would be about a 62% retracement, because 50% is not really a number that is, well, I shouldn't say it's not used, but I just think if you get to 50%, that's not a bull flag for sure. And you'll most likely then go down into about a 60%, 61, 62% retracement. So let me put this on the monthly chart and show you how that looked. So again, what I was thinking is that you potentially will break below that, which is that monthly candle, but not break below this one and get right down around here, midway to that monthly candle. Because what you did is you went from the low, created a monthly bull flag, and then you got to your high, and now you're trying to find a monthly higher low. So that, to me, is the clear monthly higher low. And because you're not making a monthly higher high, right, you're down here, you went up to here, that's not a monthly higher high because you have to break that. Now you're giving this all back. So to me, it's going to be somewhere between this low, under 200, around 200 to 175. That's where I think Tesla will potentially bottom out at. But again, I would also like to just look at the daily candles, keep up on those, watch how they look, and if there is some big, strong buying on a particular day that pushes it over the previous day and potentially forms the daily higher low. So that's my video for today on Tesla. Hope you like it. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. And I'll talk to you real soon, probably tomorrow.